Entertainment is about who you know. It's not about your talent. There are plenty of talented singers and models and actors and dancers. It's about who you know and who's willing to vouch for you. Ernest vouched for me. And the day after he took the pictures, my friend who I was staying with, his name is Philippe, beautiful man from Guadeloupe who lived in Paris, whom took me in and hosted me my entire time in Paris. Philippe had me call Ernest. And Philippe and I took Ernest to dinner the following night to say thank you. And we sat and we talked and we laughed. And it was an amazing beginning of a friendship I will never forget. As a little 22-year-old thing, whom Ernest used to always say when men looked at me when I walked down the street, because I looked like a girl in guys' clothing, he would always say, Escalita. And they would go, oh, they thought I was transgendered. And he would always say, Escalita, because that was big in Paris. All the men knew what Escalita meant. Oh, she's transgendered. So funny he was. He was so funny. I took those pictures, got them developed, and went back around to the agencies. I got signed to 3 agencies in one day, just simply mentioning his name. And when I say signed, you got to understand, there are levels to this shit. There are levels. They were trying me out. 3 agencies agreed to try me out, to give me a test run. That's what they did. I filled out my information, put where I was staying, my address, told them I was local to Paris. And they said, if we have work for you, we will call you. They only called me once. But he got me in the door. He got me in the door. And I saw when Fashion Week rolled around, he was leaving. He was leaving Paris. He was going to work on Top Model. I remember him telling me he was going to work as a photographer on Top Model. So he was leaving Paris to work. And my life was beginning. Fashion Week rolled around and the rest is history. I asked people for invitations and I started to see shows and I met the press and I met editors and chiefs of Vogue magazine and different countries of Vogue. Vogue Japan, I remember expressly because she got me into a show and it marked a change in my life because people started to see me. I was becoming a regular and then they were curious. Who is this? Who is this? And then they started to invite me to different parties and things like that. And I never went to any of the parties. I wasn't there to party. I was there to work. And I believe that work never got offered at parties. Work got offered at offices at 9 to 5. So I never went to any of the parties I was invited to. I was a working girl. I wasn't playing. But I'll remember getting sick in Paris because the whole ordeal took a toll on my mental health. And as a young man running from a diagnosis of bipolar disorder type 1 and acute anxiety disorder and post-traumatic stress disorder, it was a lot on me. It was very stressful on me to get through the door. But Ernest Collins got me through the door. And I will never forget that when I had my manic episode that was very embarrassing and very public, I called Ernest when I got back to America. And Ernest said this to me in 2005. He said, sweetheart, you're young. Deal with what you have to deal with. And then you can always come back. Now, yes, he had heard about the crazy exploits. Oh, he was running in the street half naked in a Speedo and, all of those things. He had heard. But he said to me, sweetheart, You're not the first and you won't be the last to deal with these conditions. Deal with them and then come back. You can always come back to Paris. Paris will be here. So I never felt like I lost anything. Ernest was a shield. He introduced me to people. We went out. We went to Escalita. We went to the hookah bars before hookah was big in America. Back in Paris in 2005, they had hookah bars. And I'll never forget, Ernest and his friends kept singing, "Don't you wish your girlfriend was hot like me," walking down the street. I didn't know what they were singing, but there was a little known group called the Pussycat Dolls, and they were making their debut in America. And their song, "Don't Ya," was all around the world. And Ernest had heard it, and his friends, and they were singing, "Don't you wish your girlfriend was hot like me," as we walked down the streets of Paris. It's 2021. That was 2005. And I just learned last night that Ernest passed away early last year of 2020 due to heart failure. He was 67 years old. Ernest was Ernest, and I adored him. And I was so grateful that he spoke those words of life into my being, because I never gave up. And my attitude was, I can always return to France. And what is so crazy about it is that in 2019, I was doing a live on IG, Instagram, and Ernest came in my room. I saw him when his name came up, and I acknowledged him immediately. So Ernest got to see what I became. He was right. The words that he spoke in 2005, he was right. I'm famous now. I've made it. And though I'm still waiting on an arrival and for the rest of the world to catch on, over 70 million people a year know and visit my content on social media. Ernest, you were right. And thank you. When I returned from Paris to America in 2006, I began to work. Everything I did was so that I could return to Paris one day. And that day is here. I'm 38 years old. I'll be 39. It took me a long time because of my mental illness. But Ernest, I dealt with it. I got it under control. And I made something of myself. And I just want to say thank you. And rest in power. Because you were an amazing man. And I will never forget what you did for me. God bless you. And thank you. Thank you so much.